Hi everyone, and we are back with the sales step up. Have you missed me? Have you missed us? Because today is another special edition with one of my special friends. We've got the amazing Laura Pearman with us today, and she is joining us to talk about profiles, photos, and personal brands. So if you're on LinkedIn, then actually you really need to watch this because, you know, your profile is like prime real estate. And what do people think about when they actually see it? So big welcome. I'm going to bring Laura on now.
Hey! I'm so excited
so
to be here.
I'm just so excited to talk to somebody. I mean, you know, I think we're all at that point on. We're just like a bit demob, like, wow, there's people to talk to.
Yeah, another human being.
I know, and I mean, like we've known each other for forever, and anyone who knows myself and Laura is both of us like to talk. Is that fair?
Yeah, quite a lot. I know that it's known in my household. If I go, oh, that's Victoria, it's like, right, we'll see you in an hour then. Your name is now synonymous with, right, we'll see you in an hour. I don't think we've ever had a phone call that has been under an hour. That's crazy, isn't it?
And the thing is, like, we always get so much out of it because I'm always like, wow, that's really interesting. That's really exciting because Laura is the font of all stuff creative. So 5 minutes with Laura, you're like, my God, that's like so crazy. That's amazing. That's like this, like that. So it's like really exciting, those conversations, because I get a load of creative stuff out of that, which is like,
it goes two ways, Victoria. Like, I'll say something, you're like, oh, you could sell that. Why don't you package that with that? And you could sell that. And actually, no, don't charge that, double that. And I'm like, I'm writing things down whenever we talk. I'm like, yes, Victoria, I'll do that then. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. But I mean, that's why I was super excited to have you on. And we've advertised this event. So we've got quite a few people who are going to be joining us live. So if you're joining us live, do say hello in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're joining us on replay, then again, stick a comment in below, not least because not only will that make us feel very loved and know that you're joining us, either live or on replay, but actually at the end of today, we've got some special stuff that we're going to share in the comments. So it means that you'll get a notification about that to remind you to come back and pick it up. So that's my little sales pitch. Say hello in the comments, because that way I know that you can actually get access to that there. We've got first people saying hello.
Hi, Alison. Hi, Mark.
Hey, great. So actually our background, we started, hi Linda. Oh, we've got loads of people coming in now, you see. We actually first had I was thinking about this, our first photo shoot together was like 2016.
Yeah, flies, doesn't it? It absolutely flies.
I looked a little bit younger back then. Needed a bit less Photoshop, maybe. But yeah, so the first time we really worked together, we did like a full photo shoot. And that was really exciting because for me, oh, hi, Ema. Hi, Gemma. Hi, everyone. And that was really exciting for me because actually that was really, for me, a way of showing my brand was evolving. And I know one of my sort of like big things around that was like, how does that work? So on and so forth. And that was really when I was like, I've got to talk to Laura. And I think at that point in time and all the way through to the, like now, when we've just done a photo shoot, COVID safe. The reason that I want to work with you is because really you're specializing in brand, aren't you?
Yes, that's my jam. I set out and I did all photography for everyone. And guess what? That wasn't a sustainable business model. So I quickly realized, actually, yeah, I've got this background in marketing and public relations and all these extra qualifications. Why have I not thought before to put the two together? But I put the two together in like 2015. So I was still quite new to it when we did that shoot in 2016. But niching down like that has been such a better direction for me to take, for sure.
And what do you see is like the difference between sort of like being a photographer and being like a brand photographer? Because there is a difference, isn't there?
Yeah, there is a huge difference. And it drives me mad when you see the jack of all trades photographers saying they know about it. Yes, we all know what it's like to run a business, But understanding the fundamentals and actually quite a lot of the boring stuff, the strategy, the why, the roots of a brand is really important if you're going to know the right things to pull out and then try to explain in a photograph. It's really common. This is a really good example of brand photography that isn't actually brand photography. So say you've got your amazing color, your purple hair. A photographer, like a natural artist, right, would go, what really appeals to me about Victoria? Like, let's behold her hair. And they would really like go off on an artistic tangent, like, right, let's throw some gels on the lights and really pull the purple tones out. And she's got all these lovely wifty bits. Let's do a bit of backlight and make that pop in. Yes, it is a beautiful piece of art, but what the hell's the purple hair got to do with your business? That's the difference. So it's like, yeah, that's a great idea, and that's beautifully creative, and that piece could probably go up in an exhibition. And oh my God, you're gorgeous. But what is that? If unless your brand is your purple hair, don't pay attention to that. Let's talk about your business strategy. Let's talk about who you're selling to. Let's talk about what's going to appeal to them. And then let's try and tell that in a story that's in an image. So I always say a picture has 1,000 words. Let's make those 1,000 words about your brand.
Oh, that's like amazing. And that's really interesting as well, because I think that, it is a bit daunting having your photo done and like having a photo shoot. You think, well, I'm not like a model or anything. But I do think, it's that one of the things I said after our first shoot, when I got like those first photos back, I was like, wow, is this really going to elevate my brand? This is really portraying me in a slightly different way. And I know that it was really important that like I trusted you with that, because actually you had a greater insight into that than I did, because I'm not that creative, So, and it's really interesting, thinking about brand with photo. Obviously, one of the things that we've been working on recently is I'm going through a brand evolution. So I've got some changes coming up with my brand and with my business. And I knew as part of that, I need some photos to represent that. So yes, I need a fantastic new brand. And, shout out to Anna Brand, who's done some great work on new logo and all sorts, like exciting things.
Drum roll. I'm doing a drum roll.
But equally alongside that, it was like, I totally need some photos to represent those new ideas. And that was really when we picked up again just before Christmas, wasn't it?
Yeah, just before. And the thing that I love about the way that I work now is having these longer term relationships. Like you and I have shot together. I think that was our third shoot that we did. But I understand how your business has evolved, and then I see why you've gone down this brand evolution as you're changing and pivoting a little bit. But it's easier for me, knowing the background, to be able to come to you with some really good recommendations. And I think this is especially true when you're afraid, you're frightened about having your picture taken. If you can develop a long-term relationship with a photographer, they know how to bring the best out of you. But if they're a good brand photographer, they know how to talk about the right bits to help you with what you're trying to achieve.
I think some of that's about putting you at ease as well, because I think it's always the same. It was really interesting in the photos that we've just done. It's always the ones towards the end that are the best, and it's because by then, like, you're past caring, you're just having a bit of a laugh on with your mates. And like, especially, I've got a couple I'm going to show actually, so you can talk a bit about how you've got the brand in those photos. But what I really like about some of them is, I know we were just
goofing around at that stage. But I had you believing that we were goofing around, Victoria, and I knew that was when I was going to get the best out of you.
Okay, well look, here is one of my favorite photos from our shoot, and this was us like fooling around, but it's one of my favorite photos because it actually does sum up, I think, me and some of my brand. So here we go.
Yay, I love that one. Show me the money, baby. We were doing the Jerry Maguires, weren't we, at this point?
We were. And I think it's that whole thing that, it was that thing where we were just fooling around, but actually it's a great representation for me, because actually I talk about money a lot, but actually it's still that kind of fun vibe,
It's tongue in cheek as well. Like, how many sleazy, cheesy salespeople are like, this is the only message they have. You're kind of poking fun at that in your own way. I think that's the bit that really cracks me up. And the beauty of this as well, we should probably say from a technical point of view, that this was shot on a green screen. So even though you can see a solid white background, I would want to lay this on top of like a muddy wallpaper background. So it's like you in the money with the money. Like that would be really cool. Or you could, like right now, immersion and illustration on top of photography is really trendy, or animated illustration on top of photography. So you could even have it where it's a GIF and the money's like spraying out of your hands. I really want to say that.
5 minutes with Laura and you get 5 new ideas. This is what it's all about. So yeah, and you'd come up with all of this, before we actually did the shoot. And this is another one that I really liked, and it's because a lot of what we're talking about with where we're going with the brand and with what's happening with that, it's not a huge change. But one of the big things that we thought about was about how, like, what makes us different. And I always think it's about the fact that the heart of my sales process, and it with what I sort of preach, if that makes sense, is that actually it's all about the client. It's all about you. It's not about me. It's all about you. And I think that was really something that kind of took all the way through this, wasn't it?
Yeah, this is where, when you have a good creative team that can start sparring and jamming with each other. And I know that was something that Anna Brand had pulled out when you were doing the work with her. So what was brilliant for me is to like be part of that team, so I could come in and see which direction Anna was pushing things. And be honest, you were a little bit reluctant at this. And I was like, no, that's the money. That's where we need to go. I agree with her. We're ganged up on you and we're convinced you that was the right way. But I think this is really going to be powerful for you. It's very different to what's happening in where you are wanting to operate more.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to show you the last photo that I've actually got to share today, because I think this was another one of those photos that I don't actually know that other photographers would necessarily have taken.
Yeah. What a great headshot.
It literally the photo at the back of my head.
Yeah, so this obviously is not a headshot, but it is brand photography. So when you understand what we've just covered there with your brand, Victoria, that it's all about you, this we've done a shot like this. We've done some other fun shots of different body parts. I'll just leave that hanging there and people can come and see the website when it's live. But this is going to be great in explaining the whole, like, your copy, your colorway, all of that stuff. It's a great way to just kind of underline that. You wouldn't put this on your LinkedIn profile picture. Just make that clear. This is a brand photo that complements a concept.
It is, but it is genius, and we've got some really cool ideas about how we're going to use this. And I must admit, like, the web team that we're working with, who are building a new website, they've like really been excited about the photos because they're also really different. And I think that's been something else. I think, the great thing about the sort of working with the same person, I think the great thing for me has been that actually I've got a whole portfolio of photos that go back to 2016, and I look a bit younger on them, but I mean, you're never going to notice. But it does mean like this is like sort of like elevated and like changed slightly the context of all of those photos, but actually it still feels like I can use those because there's a consistent like style about them, there's a consistent look, and I think that's really helpful. I mean, that must be something that you find when you're working with people again and again.
Yeah, this is the thing. Like, so you have people who sometimes do a pivot, and actually those photos that we did 3 or 4 years ago become completely redundant. But the way that I try to work is it's about that evolution. If we've got the concept of you and the concept of your brand, and you've got your head screwed on, so you're focused. That's a big thing for me when I work with people. You're able to just keep continually adding to those visual assets, and you're making that image bank bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's the goal. You want your investment to last for as long as possible. So it's not about, right, okay, they're done with, just delete them. Like I said, sometimes that is true, but in the main, you want to try and be building that bank of library of images that you can just keep repurposing over and over again.
Yeah, I think that is really important. And we've got some great people saying hello here that we haven't said hello back to you because we were still talking. We got Ema's been in and out. That's okay, Ema. We've got Chris who's with us. Big giant hellos. I'm actually just, while that's coming up, I'm actually just going to go in through my phone as well.
Okay, cool.
Pro tip: if you're using LinkedIn Live, sometimes the comments stop coming up on the commenting.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
They do. as I say, pro tip. So there we go. So I am just going to just set my phone off to one side just to make sure that we don't miss anything there, because I have had that before. So if you are with us, do say hello. And also, you know, I have already said that we've got a few people that Laura's going to look at their profile photo a bit later on.
I haven't seen them either. I haven't seen them.
She hasn't seen them.
Yeah, I'm excited and also a little bit nervous.
But I think what's going to be fun about that is, the brief I've given Laura is we want you to have a look at the photo and just give us an idea of like what that photo is saying, and maybe what it's saying about the brand or the way that that's actually showing up online, because it's more and more important at the moment, isn't it? I think, you know, people are looking at you on screens more than they ever are face to face anymore. So it is super important. I was on actually LinkedIn, sidebar here. I was on LinkedIn yesterday, the day before, and there's still some people who've got the eggs.
Oh, I was looking at them myself when I was inviting people to this. I was like, "What? You've still got the grey cut out? Are you kidding me? Like, it's 2021. Come on!"
And like, I think
it
takes 2 seconds. Yeah, how do you know that person when you're going to see them on a Zoom call? Is it them? Is it not? You know.
Well, this is the thing. So I'm going to give you like my snap judgment, and I'm not trying to be like a horrible bully or anything like that. I'm giving you my snap judgment, and I will probably be still trying to sugarcoat it a little bit, but I'll be given a snap judgment because I want you to see what other people think as they're scrolling through something like LinkedIn, because we do make those snap judgments. You know you do it. You know you do it. So the snap judgment, and then I'll expand on why I think that. So
exactly if you'd like us to look at your photo, then put a yes in the comments, and I'll draw the screen for when we get there. Okay, so I know increasingly you're working on wider brand development now as well, and I think that's like obviously about more than just photos. So what does that really mean?
So I'm fully transparent about this. This is in response to the pandemic. So before we were all locked down last year, I was an international brand photographer. So that meant getting on a plane, going to cool places and taking pictures of really cool, ambitious entrepreneurs all over the world. Guess what? Can't travel anymore. And it's really hard to get next to people with it being safe. So in an instant, my business was kind of smoke. I will be getting back to that when it's safe, but I'm very passionate about high quality, and obviously I want things to be absolutely safe. Like, we went to extreme measures when we did your photo shoot before Christmas, Victoria, but I knew that we had the things in place. Anyway, so for years, like I said before at the top of the chat today, I have a background in marketing and public relations, and that's what's helped me really niche down into the brand photography. But one thing that I've always had as feedback from people is, Laura, it was more than just a photo shoot. So you better believe when the lockdown happened, I was on the phone and saying, right, do you remember that time when you said, Laura, it was so much more than a photo shoot? What exactly did you mean? And would you have paid for that? So we've gone through a really interesting year in my business. And we're at a position now where we can see that there is major value in creative direction and real solid brand consultancy. So it's not what you would consider like a graphic designer does or someone who creates branding. It's all the bit after. It's implementing a brand, managing a brand, building your influence with your brand, but then being more creative. So a lot of the people that I work with have a creative team. They have creative suppliers. So you might have somebody who does your videos. Maybe you've got a sound person who does your podcast. You've got a copy person who does your copy. You've got a social media person, la, 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 la. All of those people are working, yes, together as a team, but are you really getting the most creative out of them? If you identify as somebody who's not very creative, there's a very strong chance that you're inadvertently stifling these people. And if you're keeping them in silos, they can't jam together and give you a lot more value. So that's where I'm hoping I can come in and say, right, let me like get a ring around your
join it all up.
Yeah, and be like the manager of the band of your creatives, and let's get them really like turning the volume up on your brand, but doing it in a way that you as a busy business owner might not have even had time to think about. That's where the money that you spend on these people, especially if you've got them on retainer, is where you get all of that extra value back.
It's really interesting as well because I mean, I've said to you before, I'm not desperately creative kind of thing. You know, I paddle around the edges, let's say. Apart from then, I come up with a genius idea, which is of course not actually genius, but I think is genius, which is also a problem, isn't it? It's because I think sometimes when you're the business owner, when it's like your business, you have a very clear idea, and not to give too much away, but I know that you've seen my new brand, which is not pink or orange or purple. And when I saw my new brand, I was somewhat shocked. I was a bit taken aback. And I did say to Anna, yeah. I was very nervous about it. I was like, oh, everyone around me, all of my team, and were like, oh, it's great. It's just what we need. It's like amazing. Like, let's go for it. And I was like, oh, but it's not like pink and purple and orange and like, oh, and then it was that. Oh, Anna's with us. Hi, Anna. So Anna knows this exactly. I was like, Anna, everybody loves this brand. Like, I'm like, I don't know. Really don't know. And it was really one of those things that it was a bit of a leap of faith for me to let go of my preconceived ideas and my idea about what that was, and actually just sort of give myself over to the fact that, as you say, the creatives, you know, you guys who actually know about joining this all up together could do a great job with that. And seeing the website now with all the stuff that Anna's created, I did ring her yesterday and say, Anna, it looks amazing, because it does look amazing, and now I love it. But it's been really interesting. I think that whole thing about, you know, holding people back or putting people in silos, I think that sometimes as a business owner, that's really difficult because you've got your own view, and your own view isn't always actually right.
Yeah, it's not always best for, you know, there's a quicker way of getting to where you want to get to. And I think, you know, we can get in our way. If you've set up a business from scratch, you come into it with this bootstrapping approach, you're doing it the best way you can, you're getting it out there, you're making it happen. But then when you get to the growth phase of your business, that's when you've got to start leaning on a team, and you've got to know that they're a good team. But that also includes putting your trust in them and letting them push you a little bit, because they do actually know what's best, and you're paying them to tell you that. So it's all about like facilitating that. I think that's where I'm going with the creative direction. Now, if you're watching this and you're in the creative industries, and this is a hang up I've had about saying that I'm a creative director, I know from my studio days, the creative director is the really scary person who like waltzes in at the last minute before a photo shoot's happened and like changes their mind. Or if you're in graphic design, like they come in, they say, right, cancel everything, purple's on trend, we're doing purple for every client. And you're like, all right, you know, like an Edwina type from Ab Fab. And I've always really resisted that and thought, no, I don't want to be that scary person. But this is quite a literal directing the creative. So that's where we're going with it.
Oh, I can't completely get that. And I think, you know, after like sort of the experience that I've had on like reposition with some of my stuff, like I've really sort of been like, I get it. I really get it. Actually, and going back to thinking about sort of tying things together, that this is really why people's profile pictures so important. It's so important because actually represent them online. And actually, there's a couple of questions in the chat before this. So I'm actually just going to pop a couple of, I'm doing so well with the technology here. Here we go. So this is from Gudrun.
Hi, Gudrun.
I think this is so relevant, like at this precise moment in time, because right now, you know, we are in pandemic. A lot of us are working from home. And I think it's a real question about like, how smart do you actually need to be in your business headshots? You know, it does seem that there's an increasingly fine line between the professional and the off the clock, which I think we all identify with. But how should that represent like actually in your profile picture? And what are your thoughts around that?
Okay, so we're on the cusp of me potentially going into quite a lunatic rant about authenticity. So forewarning, if that happens and I'm still here and saying, and I'll tell you this for free in 5 minutes, just put your hand up and I'll know to button it, right? So authenticity is important, but it's also very misinterpreted. So the way that I like to explain this, I have a slide actually when I'm doing talks, and this is how I do it in a visual way. Your business headshot, so your official headshot or official brand profile picture, should be you in your most polished, best self. So if you were going to think about that as a pyramid, the business headshot would be at the top of the pyramid. And I'm really passionate about people sharing selfies. And I think that even if you have a professional business headshot, you should still be documenting your day-to-day with selfies. So the less professional, more like I'm in lockdown, I'm wearing my PJ bottoms, or I'm walking the dog, or I've got no makeup on. All those things that you would associate with this awful term authenticity would go underneath the pyramid. So when somebody comes to find you, it's all about them, by the way. This isn't as much about you. So if someone was going to come and look for you, Gudrun, the top of your pyramid is the headshot that we've got here. Then if I go on your social media, and I know what you're going to say to this because I know you well, Gudrun, when I go on your social media, I would then expect to see a day-to-day account of what's going on in Gudrun's world. Gudrun shares lots of pictures of wine and cheese, which I'm also a big advocate of, but I know she on purpose dodges doing selfies. So I would say, Gudrun, I want to see those amazing selfies of when you're in France or when you're out walking your dog. And that's what goes here. And this is what rounds out the explanation that should be beautifully, concisely explained in the top image. So I hope that makes sense. Have I answered that without the rant?
Yeah, you have. You absolutely have. I think the other thing is as well, I think it's that whole thing about, what I'm always really conscious about is your headshot's almost quite static, isn't it? Your profile picture, it's something that I don't really change my profile picture very much because I almost want people to go, oh, it's her. Like it's in a nice way, like, oh, it's Victoria, so it's almost like that is something that for me, I've always tried to keep a little bit more static so that I'm a little bit more recognizable, like out and about around the place. Like
it's about search. Like if you were to meet somebody at a conference and you're hitting it off with them over coffee, you're going to say, yeah, let's connect. You're probably not as likely these days to say, here's my business card. You're going to go and look at them on LinkedIn. And while I'm doing that, in between talking with someone else or getting another coffee, I'll be like, oh yeah, there she is. So it's recognizability. But then because I like to be on Instagram, I'd be over on Instagram. If I can't see the exact same photo that I've now got in my memory next to your name, it's going to make it harder for me to find you and connect with you. So this is an important extra little tip. Your profile picture should be the same across all social media. And that's not about you. It's not about the mood of your content on social. It's for other people to be able to find you.
That's a really good point. I never even thought about that. Literally never thought about that.
If you're going to change one,
have to go check that.
yeah, you better. If you change one, you've got to make sure they're all consistent. That's
because you're right, because people do interact with you in different places. So, okay, that's a really good tip. And I've got another question, which I think is going to follow on from some of this. Actually, I think there's some of the same sort of stuff going on here. This is from Alison. She says, I hate having my photo taken. So the thought of having a professional photo shoot done fills me with the fear. Do you have any tips for taking your own profile picture, and how often should we change our photo?
Okay.
So actually, we've answered a little bit of that, but I think that it's a really interesting one there about and I know that when we first started to work together, I was like, oh my God, what am I even doing? Like, if I hadn't known you really well, it probably wouldn't have happened,
I still get nervous when I'm having pictures of me done, and I've been in the photography industry full time for 10 years. Like, it doesn't go away. You just learn. You learn the tricks. So I'm always really passionate about all the big tricks for how you use your angles and how you use your light. Like the whole America's Next Top Model thing. There are ways that I've developed things to explain to people to get them to get over the hang-ups. But you really have to get a level of trust and dependability with your photographer to even feel brave enough to say, by the way, I really hate my chin, or by the way, I've got this thing about my left bum cheek. So if there's anything we can do to avoid shooting that, it would really help me. So it's important that you gel well with your photographer, and they should be making you feel at ease. You should be feeling like you can be open with them, but it's important that you tell them what hang-ups you've got. Now, when you're a photographer and you're on the other side of the camera, the first thing you pick up on is the bad habits. So like the cheesy, like Chandler smiles from Friends, or if someone people sometimes put their chin back and it just makes their face look like way bigger than what it is. We learn lots of bad habits, and I like to blame that on 80s school photographers. I think they're all responsible for that, by the way. But when you see them as a photographer, you learn the best way to tell somebody that they're doing something wrong. So you can imagine if you're on your first photo shoot and the photographer goes, what you're doing with your face, you've just made your face look 5 inches wider. You're going to feel mortified. You're already in an uncomfortable position. You just want the ground to swallow you up. So there's ways that the photographer will charm you. Like we were saying before, you're like, oh, we're just mucking around. It's intentional. So it's important to have that trust level with your photographer. But Alison, we have a little bonus that I think you're going to really benefit from. So if you hang around till the end of this, I'm going to share something that can give you lots and lots of tips about taking your own profile photo when you're using your phone. So right now it's hard to book a photographer. Right now, today, there's loads of snow. So if you didn't want snow in your brand photography, I mean, who would? Maybe an igloo provider, I don't know. But, you've got to be doing it DIY style. So I have lots of recommendations. So stick around till the end. And yes, the 80s school photographer. They're all to blame, aren't they? I had one school photo where I had bunches in. My mum used to put really high bunches and then crimp them because it was the 80s. And these little bits of hair that you get by your ears, I've got like 2 handles and then 2 bunches. So it's like these brain handles. Why the photographer didn't just tuck my head and I'm like sitting there looking like a right nana. Oh.
I bet your mum loved it and had it up on the mantelpiece for years.
Yeah, it was on the wall, for all the boyfriends to see when I was a teenager later.
you got to love parents, haven't you? You got to love them, my goodness. Right, so just a quick update here, Laura, because we've got loads of people who are tuning in today, which is great. And we've also got a load of people who have asked for feedback on their photos. Woo-hoo. And as well as some of the people that we already have. So I'm quite keen to sort of get a few of those up because I'm really conscious that we're going to be super tight on time. So what I'm going to do is I am going to start by actually, let's have a look. Where have we got? I'm rolling all the way back here. And I'm rolling all the way back. We've got Mary there. Okay, let's pop Mary up.
Hey, Mary.
So what are your thoughts around this photo from Mary? Now, I don't know anything about Mary. So if Mary, you're going to have to give us like a thumbs up, a thumbs down. You're going to have to say, Laura's feedback is spot on. I mean, what do you get from that photo? What does that photo say to you about her brand?
So straight away, it looks to me like it's a selfie, which is fine. Given the current climate, that's acceptable to me. Mary looks very friendly and happy, which is a good thing. I can't see into her eyes because of the way that the lighting is. So that conjures up the beginnings of feelings of, right, who is Mary? I still don't know much about her. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that I can't see into your eyeballs. When you connect with the eyeballs in a photo, it really helps you just get a gut reaction to a person. I can't see that with this image. I'm also curious about the perspective vibes with the wall. Like, is this because she's doing something like landscape gardening? Is it to do with construction? Is it to do with maybe some sort of a creative industry where, the idea of perspective is like a little bit of an arty touch? From a color point of view, though, it's all the same palette. So like the bricks look like they're different skin tones, as well as the blonde hair and the skin tones that Mary has. So from a professional point of view, I would always try and go with a contrasting behind the scenes look, just to make yourself pop out a little bit more. But yeah, I'm interested. She seems like a friendly, trustworthy person, and I want to see more. If I see that Mary's nothing to do with those construction, I would be saying, right, well, maybe we'll think about intentionally picking what background we have on this shot.
That's really interesting. So Mary, you need to tell us in the comments, because we literally on the stream, we just get your names. You have to tell us what you do in the comments. Is it accurate? Is it not? Okay, who else have we got? Now I've got a couple of people. I think I've got Liz Cole. Liz, we can't actually see your photo on the stream. I think it's because your profile's set to private. But if you actually DM myself and Laura, I'm sure Laura will drop you a little quick overview on that, because I know you're saying you're pivoting. She's pivoting her business at the moment, so it's a really exciting time to think about it. Okay, who else have we got? We've got Gemma, and Gemma says, I've used this picture of me everywhere. So the great news is, Gemma, like, already you're doing better than me, because like you're being consistent, and that's, who knew that would be important, eh?
Now, I know, Gemma, we used to go to networking, all three of us. We've been to lots of different networking over the years. But one thing, so I know that Gemma is in the wedding industry, and I think she's pivoted since the last time we had a hug and a chat and a cup of coffee together. But I think that she's a celebrant now and she's still in the wedding industry. So the way that this image is lit and the way that this image has been retouched with in terms of the colorway is very wedding-y. So that's not quite a technical term, but I would say that this has probably been done by a wedding photographer. It has like that romantic vibe to it, and that's a very intentional way that wedding photographers edit, which is good in some respect, given that she's in that industry. But one thing I've always thought about this image is this is grey. If you met Gemma in person, she is the absolute opposite of grey. She's not a grey person. So she's wearing like a silvery grey top on a grey background, which has like, it's a little bit drab, and it really clashes with her colourful, open, warm and friendly personality. So if we were talking about, we could still do something wedding-y, that would be fine in the way that it's retouched if you wanted to blend into the industry. But I would be saying, don't you want to stand out? Like, people are going to pick you as a celebrant because of your wonderful, colourful personality. Let's get your wonderful personality and the way that you show up to do what you do in the image in quite a literal way. I mean, it's technically great. You can see into her eyes. She's smiling. You're getting a sense of who she is. But I think the colourway and maybe even the edit and the finish is letting her down a little bit.
Wow. Okay. So that is really interesting. Actually, you're right, because my understanding is Gemma's celebrating weddings now. And actually, that is quite a personal thing, isn't it? So you want to get the idea of who that person is, I suppose. So that's really interesting. Does that help, Gemma? Yeah, Mary's actually just come back on as well. She said she's actually a mindset coach. So thanks so much. Really helpful. That's quite interesting. Mindset and the brick wall, though, isn't it? Like, you know, like, do you want to break through the wall? Do you want to...
Yeah, there are connotations there. I would be interested to know in her approach in mindset. So if we were planning a shoot, Mary, I'd be saying, right, what is your specific approach? You know, working with the mind is, you know, it's done in very different ways by lots of different people. I'd want to drill in a little bit more to how Mary does what she does, and then maybe think about clever ways you can explain that in the shot.
And interestingly, Gemma's just come back and said, this might be too long to go up. Let's see. This picture is actually part of my pre-wedding shoot. So the shirt was pink,
there you go.
But people said it looked like pajamas, so I photoshopped it. That's amazing. So there we go. Okay. What have we got? Liz coming back. Yeah, no idea people can see my photo. I've changed the settings, which is changed on my phone, but not on the thread. So we will come back. We'll message you afterwards, Liz. I don't want you to miss out.
Yeah, I promise you I will.
Who else have we got? Who else was wanting us to have a look at their photo? Linda. No, this is my friend Linda. So this is a different shot again, this one actually, isn't it? So what are your thoughts on Linda's photo?
So the first thing that jumps out to me, and you've said that it's an amateur selfie, which is fine, you know, like I said, I'm an advocate of that, is why have you done the crop that you've done? I've got a feeling that you've cropped that image, Linda, because you either wanted to hide something in the background. Like, I am purposefully, look, this is all my filming stuff, and I'm purposefully sitting like this because I don't want you to see the carnage, and I think it's unprofessional. Are you doing that in the selfie and you thought, oh, the dishes are there, I'll just dodge my head that way? But I want to know why the thing that's behind you is in the shot. Like, if it's of a product that you make or something, then that might make more sense. The other thing is you've got a yellow top with a yellow background. We can see that it's a slightly different shade, but from like a composition point of view, maybe a black background, a black top on the yellow background would kind of pop more. That's very trendy right now. I can tell by looking in your eyes that you're not 100% bringing it. Like, you're like, yeah, I'm doing this selfie, I'm smiling, and there you go. Like, I can see it's not coming out in your eyes. You're not like bringing it. You're not doing the pose.
So, oh no, you're like America's top model, next top model here. Are you smizing?
Smize. No, there's something about conviction in a shot, and this is why I was saying before. I want you to have fun and let go, because when you're fun and you let go, it reads in a way that is very hard to explain. But when you're looking at it and you're regarding it as a human, you pick up on that energy. So there's a sense of unsureness about this, Linda, and that unsureness then makes me think, well, is Linda an unsure person? Is she unsure about what she's selling me? And like from a branding point of view, you don't want to have that element of doubt. You want to be like, we're having fun. This is who I am. Like, I am friendly, or I am trustworthy, or I am a little bit mad, but it has to be something that's congruent with the brand message.
That's really interesting as well, because I know Linda really well. And I would say Linda is like one of the most sort of centered people that I know, if that makes sense.
Right.
She's so much herself. And I would say, absolute expert in what she does. She actually works in construction software. That's sort of the side she does. Works very much with customers. And things like that. So it's, like on user experience and feedback and things. That's a really interesting read.
I have a tip for you, Linda. One of the things I do with anybody who works in an element where they're listening or they're caring or they're giving over a more of an emotional side is to just put your head slightly to the side. So it's like caring, listening, like open, smile. Like, so you could just sit with your phone and just like say with your eyes into the phone, I'm caring, I'm listening, I'm taking your point on board. And that would probably read in the face.
That's amazing. It is really interesting. I've got some of the people, so many people. You know what it is? I've got a couple of people who've requested this in advance, but actually, those of you who've shown up live, come on, we're just doing this.
Yeah.
We're going to use Laura while she's here. I think this is super helpful. Okay, so we've also got, I'm sorry, I'm scrolling all over the place here. We've got Richard Wade. Interesting. What about my old picture? Here we go.
Interesting.
So what does this say about Richard?
Right, this looks like it was taken at a wedding. And the reason I'm saying that is because it's got some sort of foliage in the background. Like if you were a landscape gardener or you were an architect, the things we were talking about, if you work outside, what you're wearing a suit for, that doesn't make sense. If you were like an architect, I want you to be with a hard hat and like a fluoro jacket or, some outdoor wear, like a nice regatta coat or a barber or something. You're in a suit outside. So this could be one of those corporate shots where the office has booked a corporate photographer. They're stuck in the photographer on the amount of time. So the photographer's like, right, let's just create a factory belt. Next. And they've just set up their camera on a tripod next to some green background because it's kind of unoffensive, but it also doesn't say much. And Richard's been on this process line where he stepped in to have a shot. Or he's in a group and he's cropped it down. So it could be like he's in a wedding party and then he's just cropped himself out. He's not looking, or is he? I can't see enough. I don't feel like he's looking directly down the lens.
Oh. He says he's a health and safety consultant and it was taken in a park in New Zealand.
Ah, nice.
Well, so that's interesting because would you say that's congruent?
No. If you're a health and safety consultant, I want you in some sort of like perceivable danger. Like, I don't mean like you're about to lift a wire or like there's like an explosion going on behind you.
I want you in perceivable danger.
I want you to be in some sort of way where you're making danger stuff. So I want to see technical stuff behind you. Like, what are you consulting on? Is there, like a waterfall or like, natural events? And I want you when you're consulting, and you're out on the field, like where's the hard hat? Where's the outdoor jacket? So I would say get yourself a nice barber and go and find a waterfall.
Can I just say, it's getting changed ASAP. It's the Laura effect. You've been Laura'd, yeah. Interesting. Linda's just come back and said, again, this comment might not come up. She says, spot on, thanks. Probably a perfect candidate for needing your help. Thanks for the feedback. My post-Bell's palsy face doesn't help. I'll do practice. I'll do lots of head tilt practicing. So yeah, that's exciting. And you know what? It's one of those things that, if nothing else, it's a lot of fun. I mean, a lot of this is, it should be fun, shouldn't it? If you're taking a selfie, I know it's like at the beginning you feel really embarrassed. Actually, I still remember I did your selfie challenge. Do you remember? It was when was that?
Yes.
Was it a couple of years ago? And every day you had to take selfies in different places. And at the beginning, I was like, and then you had to post them in the group, and I'm thinking, no, why did I commit to this? And then, but the funniest one was that you had to take a photo, you had to take a selfie like in a busy supermarket. I mean, does anyone remember the days of the busy supermarket when you used to be allowed to go? And I still remember it took me about 3/4 of an hour because I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh God, people are going to see me take a photo and they're going to think I'm terrible. And actually that photo still pops up on like, my time hop, because it was like one of those things. I was like, well, if I'm going to take a selfie like in a supermarket, I'm going to take it in the wine aisle. So literally just a photo of me looking really jolly with wine behind me. But it is one of those things that, for all I found that really hard, that actually really did get me over some of that sort of like almost fear factor about even taking your own photo. And also, I think especially in these lockdown times, there are definitely positions that make you look slightly more svelte than others, shall we say? The slight above the headshot and things like that. Get rid of the double chins, breathe in, go to the side, and it sounds like really ridiculous, but it is one of those things. I think right now we're all a bit like, well, maybe it's just me, I don't know.
No,
one of the
things I said to
the same. One of the things I said to Laura on our our pre-Christmas photo shoot was, just be really clear, like you're going to have to Photoshop the fact that I'm about 5 stone heavier than I should be. So she had a busy old time with that one. Okay, so I think, who else have we got? We've got another couple of people still wanting us to have a quick look. So
let's do it.
We've got Suki, and we also have Anna as well. Let's have a look. There we go. Here's Suki. Now, she said this is quite an old photo. So what does this give you?
I love Suki. Suki is the best personality. I haven't seen her in such a long time, but she has such a lovely, warm energy about her. So this looks like you can tell that it's out of date, and that's not because, Suki, you've changed physically. It's just the way that the image has been finished. So the colorway, the composition, it looks like you're in more of your accountancy capacity as opposed to more in your lifestyle capacity. So what I would be saying, if we were planning a photo shoot for you now to bring this up to date, is let's fuse the two together. So let's get a collection of photos that convey that you really know your stuff when it comes to the financials, but actually you have this lovely, warm and vibrant energy. And that's a key part of all the powerful work that you're doing with your speaking. So this is out of date, and like, it's not about the way you look, it's just the way that it looks. So I'd be saying, that's not Suki now, because I can just tell it's an old photo. So
I think especially with the impossible conversations that she's doing as well, I think that's like such a great vibe on that. So it would be fantastic to capture that, wouldn't it?
And bring it together with what she does. I think that would be a really fun challenge from a purely photography point of view. How can you say both of those messages in one collection of photos? There is a way to do it. You just have to take the time and really work it out, that's what I'd say. And also there is a little color in that scarf there, but it's not saying enough warm and enough energy to me, knowing what Suki's personality is like. I think it's the gray, like mottled background is dating it and taking away the vibrancy that she has as a person.
Oh, well, there you go, Suki. You're going to have to do something vibrant to replicate how you are in real life. And I think last one that we've got is, I think Anna's actually said she said she has the cheesiest one. It's quite awful. I think it's very interesting though, because I think the color on the background, it does make it pop a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, this is really trendy right now. So lots of people are buying bright paint and painting a wall in their office, and they're trying to do it as a brand color, and that's great. But the what I love about this shot of you, Anna, is you are a very tongue-in-cheek. You've got a very dry sense of humor. So the fact that you're sitting there still like holding your thumb up, and because I know you, it's like I know you're making a joke. Like if you were somebody and you didn't, and they're like, on their photo, you'd be like, oh, they're a bit cheesy. But you can tell here that you're doing that with your tongue in your cheek, like not literally, but there's like a wry twinkle in your eye. And that's an essence of how Anna is in person, and also how she shows up for design. I want to know what the little yellow thing is in the background. I would actually just Photoshop that out because I think it takes away from the shot. Like the ABC.
It says like ABC, I think. Yeah.
I would just fill that in with the same. You've got your blue tongue design, so the blue tongue design works. And I would also say, why are you not doing something with your tongue sticking out, like to be literal blue tongue design? Or you could even have like one of them horrible blue drinks and be like, and it's like a white background and you've got a blue tongue.
I mean, that's memories of 80s Wicked, though, isn't it? WKD. Do you remember that blue alcohol? I mean, they were never good, let's be honest.
I've lost layers of my tooth enamel because of that stuff, I'm sure.
Okay, so we have got 3 photos that came in before this. Anna's just laughing about that, so that's great. Anna, pop out and get some WKD and get some photos taken. We want to see them. So I've got 3 photos here. Now, interestingly, all the photos that came through in advance of this were from guys. So it's been an interesting one.
Feminist issue.
Yeah. So they'll make people think they're great.
Well, I think it's because women we live in a place of fear about ourselves. Like, that's the way we're conditioned. It would be really hard to submit. Like, can I ask, this is like 20 questions now. Are these men confident people? Or do they all have quite different personalities? Am I allowed to know that? I couldn't
possibly comment because you don't know what's coming. So there might be some people you know in here. So let's have a go. And I know we're tight. We're getting tight for your time. So we'll go quite quick. So I've got 3. So I've got 3 we're going to go through. And I'm excited for you to see the last one because it's very exciting. So this is the first one.
Okay, so this is one of those smiles that you've learned from the 80s school photographer. So some people do a smile and it actually makes you look like you're turning your mouth down. And it's like you've learned that you need to do muscles with your like cheek muscles, but you've learned a bad habit where you do that and in your brain that feels like a smile, but it actually makes you look like you're unhappy. So I'd be saying, are you unhappy to be next to this bridge? Have you been told, right, stand there, do a photo, and you're like, oh, all right then. I want to know, I want the people out from the background, so that makes it look like you're on holiday. And I would say you could instantly just crop that image down and cut all of them unnecessary people who are taking your limelight away from you out of the shot.
Oh, stealing the limelight.
They're still you can only see someone on our phone and like a few other people, but they're taking my attention away from you. And that's the whole point of a profile photo. We need to look at you. So you could maybe go a lot closer with this if this background is important to you. So did you build this bridge? Are you have I think that's a barber. Are you an outdoorsy sort of person? Is there something to do with landscapes or weather? Or the environment, or is this just a picture that you've had on your holidays and someone's gone, right, we're at this place that we're supposed to come to today to sightsee, stand there, take a picture, and you've gone, all right, I'll do that, that's my photo. So I need to know what the intention is behind it. The colour. Okay, well,
I know the intention, so I can share that with you in just a moment. So.
Okay, great. So shall I keep going? So the color, there's something with contrast here. So if there is an intention behind the bridge, or like maybe there's a sense of history, I would really want to be pulling out the detail of that brickwork, and then also pulling out the detail of your amazing salt and pepper hair, your eyes, and the frames of your glasses. So in the biz, we'd call that a high pass semi-transparent filter, and I'd be pulling them things through. I also want to lift all of the image because it seems a little bit flat, or what we would call in the business a little bit muddy. So we need to bring that up a little bit. And if we could do that, then it would probably give me more focus onto you. Otherwise, it's all right. Like, I mean, it's a documentation of a person in a place, and I feel like there's something to do with this bridge. So
what's really nice about this is, and this is actually David, who we used to work together.
Hi, David.
He works in the space around construction and architecture and
Yay!
software. So actually the intention behind this was very much to try and represent that link with some of that with that background. And this is his favorite place, apparently. It's in Milan. So I think there was also, you know, that warm feeling that we get sometimes where we've been somewhere that we really like. Yes. So I want to capture that warm feeling almost as part of our profile. And when he was telling me about that, I was like, I so get that, because I've totally done that before. I've totally been like, oh, that was like such an amazing time. Like, it might not even be the best photo in the world. I'm like, I want to capture that. I want that amazing feeling to be part of my profile, you know?
Yeah, that's really cool. So you could kind of build on this and do a collection of these things. Like, I would say, right, why don't we go to Barcelona and get some Gaudi in the background? Why don't we go to different parts? And maybe, you know, this is really extravagant. I do know that. If you got really good at doing the pictures yourself, I don't have to come on holiday with you, but you might want to think about doing that.
Yeah, I know you're angling for it. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. It's one you might or might not recognize. I wasn't sure about this one.
I feel like I've seen this person before, but I wouldn't be able to remember his name. I'd be going, oh yeah, hi, how are you? And I'd be waiting for something to remember. How do I know this person?
It's my other half.
It's Michael.
And it was hilarious because when he saw I was doing this, he's like, oh, can you do my photo? He was like, yeah, that would be amazing, because he's just investigating like LinkedIn and stuff like this. So this is the photo he's put on as his profile. So I was interested to get your thoughts on it.
I know that you as a couple are outdoor people. Like, you enjoy being outdoor. Like, I enjoy being outdoors too. And I know that Michael is involved with like transport and logistics. So I would say, yes, still be outdoors, but can we evoke something around the nuances of logistics in there? And the fact that it's a grey day isn't really bothering me. I want to crop in a little bit more on the shot. It looks like it's a selfie because I can see this part of your arm here as you're holding up the shot, unless you're towering above, Victoria.
He is short, to be fair.
That's Michael. Like, that's his energy when I've met him. It doesn't look like you're fully looking down the lens. And this is hard. This is something that we do cover in the challenge. So if you have your photo and it's the face on, it's really
hang on. We want your big screen for this, Laura. Come on, there we go.
Okay. So when you're looking if you're using this lens to take a selfie, which is obviously the easiest way to do it, as opposed to, you can do it that way, but you'll be setting it up on a tripod. When you're doing it, it's really hard. And it's like when you're doing a live, you want to look at your own face. Like, that's me looking into the camera now. But I know as we're talking, I'm sometimes looking down here because that's where my face is. Yeah. That's what you're doing, Michael. So you might be looking at your face and you're like, I've definitely got it in shot. But you need to take that moment to look right into the little lens just to get your eyes right through. But I like that. Happy, it's Michael. Like, I knew him. I just knew I couldn't place him because I'm shocking like that. Outdoors, and I would say more logistics. So could you go, like, could there be an amazing steam train behind you? Or, you know, it's not the nicest day out, like going to a bus depot, but like something to do with travel.
No, let's be honest, Laura. Like, right now, like, we're up for anything. I mean, like, you know, the idea of like, I mean, the other day, I don't know about you, but I literally just had to go to the drive-through Costa just to go and just sit in the car park.
To live your life. Yeah, I totally.
Just to sit in the car park. Wasn't even do anything else. Just like, you know, anywhere is an exciting day out. You know. Okay, so I've got our last photo for you to look at, and this is an interesting one because Chris is actually live with us on the stream, and I didn't say much for hello to him because I didn't want you to notice his headshot before you saw it here, because when I saw this, I was like, what?
Love it. Photographer. Right, this is a photographer, or this is somebody who's in the film industry. They're in the creative industries for sure. I mean, if he was working in the security world, like he was a CCTV guy, this is absolute genius. This is the kind of shot that I see on my email subscriptions to like the BJPP or the AOP. So these are like photography things, or like you get a gallery update and you see images like this. Love it. But what is it saying about you, Chris? Like, I'm sure that there's something to do with you operating a camera or you looking at people through a lens. Why are your arms folded though? That might be like, is there some sort of misgiving that you've got about that? Is there something that you're holding back? Like this is a pose, is something that's usually quite like you're creating a wall. So the fact that you don't have a face and you're creating a physical wall leads me to think that there's some sort of barrier there. It could be that it's part of the artistic context of the image, and you're talking about barriers and imagery in today's modern world. I don't know. Love it, but it's not a headshot, is it? I cannot see your face. Like, I love it. It's amazing. It's absolute genius from a creative picture. But if I'm looking for that geezer Chris that I met at that conference last week, and I see this wonderful robot, how do I know it's you? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a brilliant photo, but is it fit for purpose as a profile photo? Like in the literal sense.
And it's really interesting. Because I had a bit of a chat with Chris about this, and because I was like, oh my God, that's like, wow, that's like really, and I think what was interesting to me about it is his insecurity in CCTV.
Amazing.
So that's exactly where he is. That's exactly his space. And the conversation that we had is about how, as a consultant, he feels that like what he's really trying to get across here is that it's almost like he's talking about white labeling. He's talking about like, it's not about me. Like, I'm going to help you with this kind of thing. It's a bit about that you thing again. So actually, I'm not front and center. The solution I provide is front and center, which I thought was really interesting. And the one thing that I thought was, well, if I saw that like on my feed kind of thing, which I did, I was like, what is that? So there was definitely that like little bit of interest, but I just thought it's so out there. Definitely need to pick that one for you to have a look at.
I want to see the rest of the collection. So if you haven't planned to, you should think about doing more photos in that ilk. And like how we were saying before with your image, where we've got you the back of your head and there all other body parts to keep your eyes out for with your website, Victoria. I would say, can you extrapolate on that and really go like turn the volume up on it even more now that I know the context? So like, is there connotations of protection? Like, I'd want to be making you dressed up as like the Terminator, like if you're going for a robot, or like RoboCop, or like somebody who's like a brave hero who's protecting me through the art of security. So I don't know if you'd be open to like having like weaponry. I know that's a very divisive thing, but like, I would say,
Chris, are you open to weaponry?
Are you open to weaponry? Like, is it something that's going to freak your clients out? But I'd be saying, well, can we get our hands on a few rifles or a few fake rifles? Could we have you holding a bow? That kind of thing, because you're protecting us. I'd really turn the volume up.
This is where I said, 10 minutes with Laura, like 57,000 ideas, So Chris, you're going to need to let us know what you do. And we want to see the photos of you with the weaponry and dressed up as like Iron Man and all that kind of thing,
Yes.
Super interesting comments. Thank you. You are more than welcome, Chris. You gave us some really interesting chats to have there. Okay, so we're so over time. We've gone completely over time. But you know what? It's been absolutely amazing. It's been great to see so many shots, and I actually learned like loads. I've learned so much about this. It's been so helpful. And there's definitely stuff I'm going to dash off and do straight away. And one of the things that I'm always really keen like talking about in the Sales Step Up is about actionable things. So what 3 things do you think that we can go away today? And actually, I've already got a list of more than 3 from all the things we've already talked about. But what 3 things would you say we could go away and do today that would just elevate our personal brand through our photos, in particular our profile?
Yeah, right now in this current climate where it's hard to book a photographer, in the snow, like these are factors. I want everyone to just go out and start taking more selfies. You don't have to take selfies and post them on social media. The whole point is to build up confidence with documenting the unglamorous parts of what you do and the things that you think are the most boring about your day-to-day job. So this helps any professional photography when we're ready and we're safe and we can do it. This helps that process out enormously. because you're developing the fine little skills that we were talking about, angles and stuff. It's also a really good way for you to build up your confidence. You know, like if you're going to start running, you've got to start getting outside. You've got to put some trainers. This is like the first step in getting comfortable with having your photo taken. And if you've got a personal brand, you've got to put yourself out there. So why don't you start doing it on your own? No budget spend with the equipment you've already got. Start taking selfies. So one of the things I talk about in the challenge, we can put a link to that in the notes actually, is to set an alarm. So this is a great way to just get over it. Like 3:05 every day for the next 2 weeks, I'm doing a selfie. You might be doing the same thing, making your cup of tea or whatever it is at 3:05, but just getting into the habit of doing it on a regular basis. And if that's something that you think, yeah, I'm not really sure where to start, or am I supposed to go and buy some equipment? The challenge is a really great way to just get the bits that you need and start going with it. And like you were saying, Victoria, I give you very specific challenges with very different moods in them, because I want you to get out of your head and like be like, yeah, but I don't like this, I don't like this. I'm giving you all these things to distract you, like go to a supermarket where it's busy and just get the shot, to help you get over that procrastination cycle that I think a lot of people are in. So that's step one.
Step one, go and get yourself a challenge, yeah?
Yeah, do the challenge, or just make a habit of doing more selfies.
Step two, the challenge we're going to put in the comments, aren't we?
Yeah, we'll do a link to that, and you can just go in and sign up. It's a free challenge at the moment. It might be something that we're putting a price on at some stage, but for right now, it's free. So take it while it's like that. The second thing is, this is a conversation I have, what I feel like on repeat with a lot of people. So if you feel like you've been shortchanged from a previous photo shoot, that can really create a barrier for you wanting to justify investing in another one. Like if you might not have had like a terrible experience, but you might have these 10 images or even a few hundred images from this photo shoot, and you're like, yeah, but I just don't use them. So why should I fork out another few £100 on another photo shoot? It can be like a cycle that a lot of people get into. So if you feel like you're shortchanged, or that you're still a little bit, you feel like you could maybe get a bit more mileage out of what you've already got, then I've got a checklist that you can take a copy of. So that's called the Headshots Return on Investment Checklist. And this is actually a really good guide that I like to give to a lot of people. I should send you a copy actually, because we've just done your photo shoot, Victoria. This is a great guide to list out every single place imaginable where you should use your headshot. So the purpose of this is to get mileage out of what you've already got, but it's also a really practical way to get a quick visual on where you've got gaps in your photography. And that can help you justify and say, right, well, I know now the next time I do a photo shoot, I need to have this one, this one, and this one on my shot list. And then you know you're getting what you actually need. You're not just given some vague like brief to a photographer who's going to have to try and read between the lines, and then you're back to square one. So there'll be a link to that as well, and that's like a few pages, and you can go through. It's one of those things that you can keep going back to as well as you're replenishing your images. The final thing is, I can give you loads more advice. So if you really enjoy, like we've not met before, we're not connected, you can connect with me. But if you want to get more tips and more expert advice, come and watch my show. So I have Moi TV over on YouTube. We can do a link to that. You can connect with me. Like if you're going to connect with me on LinkedIn, I only ask that you send me a note with that connection request. Otherwise, you get quite an abrupt reply saying, are you stalking us, or are you trying to hit on us? Because this happens a lot on LinkedIn. It started to die down a little bit now, but it's quite send me a thing and say, I was on Victoria's thing, let's connect. We can connect and chat from there. Or if you want to just kind of watch behind the scenes a little bit, come and see me on Moi TV, and I'm sure there'll be something there that can help you out even further.
Oh, that's fantastic. And we'll drop all those links in the comments so that everyone who's been on stream will get the notification about that. Super interesting. Yeah, we've got Suki saying, so helpful, thanks so much. We've got Richard saying, so glad he dropped in on us too, on YouTube, us two, the two of us. Very interesting and useful. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Well, I mean, it has been really, really good. We've completely overrun. Like, I've never done a live.
No surprises there, Victoria.
But it's, well, I mean, A, we can talk, and B, it's great to be able to give some value. And I think, being like giving your feedback on people's headshots, I think people have found it like super valuable. So I think we really appreciate that. So
it's been fun to do.
Yeah, it is absolutely. And for Liz, obviously we'll DM you afterwards, just so that Laura can give you a little bit of an insight into what your image says to her, which will be really helpful. Thanks, Jess. Thanks, Alison. Oh my goodness, thanks, Liz. Yeah, there's so many people coming on. So a big thanks to our guest today, Laura. All her contact details will be going in the comments. So thank you so much, and we will catch up soon.
Yes. Thank you
See you
so much,
a bit, Laura.
Victoria. Mwah.
So that's the amazing Laura Pearman. What a session that has been. I've so enjoyed being able to bring people on to talk to them, not only like for my own information, so I get to pick their brains, but because I know it's given value to other people. Over the next month, we are launching a new brand. And on the back of that, we will be starting to do some of these live sessions once every couple of weeks. So I'm really excited that we're going to be doing more of that. So if there's people that you think that you would like to hear from, then let me know. And I would be delighted to invite them on the Sales Step Up. Until then, though, it's been amazing having so many people with us here today. Thank you so much. We will follow up in the contents with all of the links for Laura. And have a fantastic rest of the day. And we'll see you all very soon. Bye for now.